So today we're continuing on with section 4.1. If you remember, we did part of the lesson. Now what we're going to do is do the remainder of the lesson. It shouldn't take us too long to go through these examples. But the first one says find the value of x ran to 2 decimal places. And so what I need to do right here, okay, is I need to focus on my angle. And based on what my angle is here, that's going to tell me what trig function I use. Because I'm going to use my 2 other given parts. And so what side is x known as? Adjacent. What side is 18 known as? Hypotenuse. And so when I think about this, I need to think, okay, what trig function only uses adjacent and hypotenuse? And so when I think about that, the trig function that only uses the adjacent hypotenuse is what?
Cosine.
Cosine. And so I'm going to go ahead and write an equation, and this equation is going to be cosine of 42 equals my adjacent side over my hypotenuse. So cosine of 42 equals x over 18. And so now what I need to do is solve that. So to solve that, I'm going to do what?
Times.
Multiply both sides by 18. Now I'm going to show you how on your calculator you can do this all in one step. I'm going to put the 18 in front. Now notice, okay, notice where you have to put the 18 in order for you to do this all in one step. The 18 must go in the front. And so on your graphing calculator, you need to get that out. First of all, everybody needs to be in degree mode. So make sure you're in degree mode, and I think some of you switched that before. But to do that, you need to go up to the mode button, which is right by the second key, and make sure you're in degree mode. When you're in degree mode now, all you need to do is on your main screen type in 18 cosine. You don't even need a times sign. So 18 cosine. And then what it's going to do is it's going to give you parentheses. So this is what you should type in, and it's going to do this. So all you need to do is type in 42. You can hit your right parentheses to end that. And when you do that, what is the answer you get to the nearest hundredth?
13.38.
Okay, 13.38. That's pretty much a consensus, and that's your answer.
All right.
So far, so good? All right, let's go ahead and look at another one. There's your right triangle. We've got 53 degrees, x and 15. So if you remember, the very first thing, what I do, I focus on my degrees or whatever angle I'm dealing with. And based on that, I now label my sides. So what side is 15 in relation to 53? Opposite. What side is x? Hypotenuse. So I'm going to go ahead and write my equation. My equation here will be
Sine of 53
yep.
equals 15 over x.
Okay, sine of 53 equals 15 over x. Now I'm going to show you a little trick that you can use here. Okay, whenever you get a variable here in the denominator, like x or whatever you're trying to solve for, what you can do is switch these two, and then you can go ahead and solve. So in order to switch them, I'm going to move the x to where sine of 53 is, and I'm going to move sine of 53 to where x is. So that's kind of one of those things, if you ever have the variable there. Now, actually, what we're doing is we're doing a multiplication and division step all in one. So, you could do this, multiply both sides by x, and then divide by sine of 53. I wouldn't. I would just do it all in one step. So on your calculator, this is what you're going to need to do. You're going to do 15 divided by. Now, this is the key. You need to put parentheses. Sine of, and then they're going to ask you for another parentheses. So there you go. So you're going to put that denominator all in parentheses. Now, the reason why I'm having you put the denominator in parentheses is because some of these other more in-depth ones, you're going to need to have parentheses, so it's a good habit to get into. And so when you do that and press enter, 18.78, did somebody else get that?
Yeah.
And you should get something bigger than 15. Why should you get something bigger than 15? Right, the hypotenuse is the longest side. So there you go. Questions?
Zero questions from me.
Okay, so let's look at this one. This is a diagram. This is kind of a word problem. I don't know if you necessarily need to write down all the words. It says a competitor in a hiking competition must climb up the inclined course as shown to reach the finish line. Determine the distance in feet that the competitor must hike to the finish line. now notice they say 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. So really, okay, 1 mile here is actually 5,280 feet. So I'm going to use the 5,280. Now, if you notice where the guy is hiking from, or hiking where he's at, okay, I'm actually trying to find this side. I know they have that labeled X, but how the problem is written, you're actually trying to find the hypotenuse there. Yeah, somebody messed up. So here's my angle. What side is 5,280? Adjacent. What side is X? Hypotenuse. So adjacent hypotenuse is what, folks? Cosine. So cosine of 48 equals what? 5,280 divided by X. Oh, here's another one of those wonderful things where variables in the denominator.
Flippy floppy.
Switch them. So what does X equal?
5,280.
Yep, 5,280 over cosine of 48. Divide that out.
7890.
7,890 and 84 tenths. 84 hundredths of a foot.
Did somebody else get that?
Frosted.
Okay.
did.
So questions?
Also easier than those tangents.
Okay, so let's look at this one. This is different because now what am I trying to find?
Theta.
The angle. So now I found sides. Now I'm going to find angles, and we've got 2 of these problems, and then that's it for today. And I'll let you go work the rest of the time. Okay. So now, idea again. Here's my angle.
What did you do last night?
Let's go ahead and label sides. What side is 26?
Opposite.
Opposite. What side is 11?
Adjacent.
Adjacent. So now I need to think, what trig function ties an opposite and adjacent?
Tangent.
Tangent. So tangent of theta equals what?
26 over 11.
26 over 11. Now, in order to solve that for an angle, we need to undo the tangent function. So it's kind of like when you multiply, you divide. When you add, you subtract. When you take tangent, the inverse tangent is what undoes that. And so you're going to notice there's an inverse tangent button right with the tangent button. And so on your calculator, if you notice, it's right above the 2 keys. And so on your calculator, what you're going to do is you're going to type in, hit that button, inverse tangent. It's going to give you a parentheses. You're going to do 26 divided by 11, and then end the parentheses. So do that all in one step. Inverse tangent of 26 divided by 11. Now you don't need to reduce it down or anything like that. That's all you need to type in. And what do you get for an angle? 67.07 degrees. That a consensus?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes. It's concise.
All right. Very last problem. Here you go. Find the measure of theta. So once again, here's theta. Opposite. Hypotenuse. So my equation is what, folks? Sine of theta equals 12 over 15.7. So tell me on the calculator, what am I going to be typing in?
Sine -1
Yep, good.
times.
Yep, you're right. Parentheses 12 divided by 15.7. What is it? 49.85 degrees. Okay, so you were given your assignment yesterday. For those of you that still didn't get that down, here's your assignment: 2 through 42 the evens, and then 48 through 54 the evens. Now, I'm not going to be here tomorrow, remember, so you're probably going to be looking maybe at a quiz-ish, possibly another lesson. I might have that recorded for you. So.